ముందు ప్రెసిడెంట్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. నాకు భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారికి మధ్యన ఇద్దరు స్పీకర్స్ని పెట్టినందుకు సార్ జన్మజన్మలకి మీకు రుణపడి ఉంటారు. భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారు మాట్లాడాక తెలుగులో మాట్లాడడం చాలా కష్టం. ఇప్పటివరకు సత్యసుబ్బారెడ్డి గారు మంచి న్యాయవాది అని తెలుసు, చాలా తెలివైన న్యాయమూర్తి అని ఇప్పుడే గ్రహించాను. ఎందుకంటే భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారు మాట్లాడాక 6 నిమిషంలో ముగించడం మీ తెలివితేటలకు మంచి నిదర్శనం. I'm very grateful, literally, figuratively grateful that I have been given this opportunity to come here today. I did not know much about Sri G.V.K. RAMARAO garu before I came here, I must confess. And I deem it my misfortune that I did not know anything about this legend, a living legend. And I deem it my fortune that I have been invited here. మా తల్లిదండ్రులు చేసుకున్న పుణ్యమో తెలీదు, నేను ఇవాళ ఈ జిల్లాకి పరిపాలనా న్యాయమూర్తిగా ఉండడం నా అదృష్టం. అదర్వైజ్ ఐ వుడ్ నాట్ హ్యావ్ బీన్ అ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ వండర్ఫుల్ ఫంక్షన్. Whenever I speak, particularly in an audience like this, I hope my friends from the High Court will not mind, I am at my happiest because in my heart of hearts I was and I will continue to remain a lawyer from the district courts. Wherever I am, whatever I do, I am proud of my heritage as a lawyer from the district courts. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason for my pride is men like Sri G.V.K. RAMARAO garu. Outstanding men of caliber, outstanding human beings, outstanding lawyers, outstanding in every sense of the way, multifaceted personalities who lead their lives so quietly without the renown that they deservedly should get. For reasons best known to him, Sri RAMARAO garu stayed back in Narsapur. I do not want to go into personal issues, but I just kept listening to all his juniors. The fact that the president started his speech by saying, తమరు మీరు అని జూనియర్లతో మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటే ఆయనలో ఎంత సంస్కారం ఉందో ఆ రోజే అర్థమైంది. If a man like this was in Hyderabad or in Delhi, I was just trying to imagine what heights he would have scaled, what renown he would have got. The bar members of Narsapuram are extremely fortunate that you are working with a living legend like this. Ladies and gentlemen, when you leave your bar and go outside, when you listen to others, that is when you will know the true weight, the weight in gold that these gentlemen really are. In fact, we are what we are today because they were what they were. Let us not forget this. Always remember that it is these quiet, genuine leaders who make the bar what it is, who make us what we are. If Sri RAMARAO garu had left Narsapuram with all the qualities of head and heart and his legal acumen that are described so vividly by every single junior, I am sure he would have scaled very, very great heights. The fact that so many of his juniors were praising his qualities as a human being distinguishes him from everybody else who are here, respected as seniors. 3 out of the 4 judges who are here are products of their seniors. I can very confidently say it. మా అజాతశత్రు శేషసాయి గారు, మీరు ఆకుల శేషసాయి గారు, మాకు ఆయన అజాతశత్రు శేషసాయి గారు. Whenever you go into his room, the first photograph you will notice on the right side of his table next to Sri Venkateswara Swami is the photograph of his senior. Sri Subbareddy today is carrying a pen in his pocket that is given to him by his senior Sri VLNGK Murthy garu on an occasion. He said, "Sir, I kept it to use it when I became a judge." Yesterday in the car when we were traveling from Vijayawada to Visakhapatnam, half the conversation mentioned by my good friend Nainala Jayasuriya was about the great Anantababu garu. I am what I am because of my father. My father was also a Mofusal court lawyer. He had many qualities of head and heart and acumen similar to Sri RAMARAO garu. And I am today standing here today because of what I learned from that great man. All 4 of us here on this stage today are what we are because of our seniors. And Bhavani Prasad garu, whenever he introduces me, he says, "Somayadal garu judge, ma Subbarao garu abbai." Then next immediately he says, "Mere anukokanda ala antunnanu." Sir, appudu kaadu, ippudu kaadu, eppudikaina. I will always be proud of that. ఆయన అది ఆ మాట మీకు ఆయన గురించి తెలుసు, ఆయన చమత్కారం, ఆయన మాటల్లో ఉన్న మాయా మీకు తెలిసిందేనే, మళ్ళీ మళ్ళీ చెప్పక్కర్లేదు. ఆయన మాటని నేను నరసాపురం వచ్చినప్పుడు కూడా నన్ను నాయుడు గారు మనోడైనా అంటారు, ఇప్పటికీ అంటారు. సో దట్ నేను సార్ అప్పుడైనా ఇప్పుడైనా సుబ్బారావు అబ్బాయిని, మీరు నాయుడు గారు మనోడే. ఎప్పటికైనా ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళినా ఆ మహానుభావుల వల్లే మనం ఇలా ఉన్నాం. మై రిక్వెస్ట్ టు ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ ఇన్ ది Narsapuram bar is to savor these moments, to enjoy these moments when a legend like this is walking among you. I don't know how many of you have read Fali Nariman's book before memory fades. Mr. Radhakrishna, I gave you the book, I hope you read it. Anyway, the first 2 chapters of his book are very interesting reading. All of you know who Fali Nariman is, one of the greatest lawyers ever produced in India. The first chapter of his book talks of his 2 teachers. They were Justice Chandrachud, the earlier Chief Justice of India, and Sri Soli Sorachi. The next chapter in his book is devoted to his senior, the great Jamshedji Kanga. The heading of that chapter is also very important for all the lawyers. It says, more watching than pleading. The great Nariman himself says, I learnt the rudiments of the profession, I learned the nuances of the profession just by watching my senior. If the great Nariman himself could say this, I am sure every member of the bar of Narsapuram, or taking a cue from what Bhavani Prasad Garu said in respect to what my friend Chidambaram has said, everybody in this district, every lawyer in this district should emulate Sri RAMARAO Garu, follow his example, become better human beings, become better lawyers, become better at everything. If Nariman, the great Nariman, he could simply rest on his laurels, he has achieved so much in his life. If he praises, worship the very ground on which people like this walk. You are truly blessed to be in a bar association where a legend like this is with you. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, and particularly the members of the bar, please make it a point to follow, to emulate, to watch. Just by watching them sitting at their feet, I think you can learn so much. I don't want to emphasize this. I've said it earlier when I was speaking in Tanuku also, when I was speaking in a similar occasion, many of the judicial officers and friends with me. We, the district judiciary, are the edifice on which this entire foundation is built. The fact that this structure is standing is because of the strong foundation, namely the bar that is in the districts. We represent the very core and the value of the Indian bar. And the whole edifice of this justice delivery system is built upon the district bar. This is my very strong opinion. Pakala Narayan Swami's case, everybody talks about it. We all read it in our law college. This is one of the most authoritative pronouncements of the Privy Council on the certain aspects. Where did it start? With the discovery of a cut-up body in Berhampur station. Where did Mohori Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh start? It talks of a minor's contract. Where did that start? With a lawyer's notice saying that there is a minor, his contract is not valid. If there is a judgment pronounced on the marking of a document and an objection raised to the stamp duty and the Supreme Court gives an authoritative pronouncement, where did that start from? Because some lawyer in a district town made that point and raised an objection at the relevant point of time. If the objection was not raised and the document was marked, or an issue about jurisdiction is not raised and the matter is decided, all of these would be empty questions of law. Because some alert, sharp lawyer raised that issue, that became the law of the land. This is the contribution that we make. This is the contribution that is often overlooked. And when you get a chance like this, and you have a living legend in your midst, a man who personifies all that is good in the legal profession, a man that personifies everything that is good that is needed in a good human being, to be a well-rounded personality. You are blessed and you are so lucky to be with him. You can say we were lucky to have practiced when Sri RAMARAO Garu was there in our midst. This is the pride you should take in the achievements of Sri RAMARAO Garu. In fact, as somebody rightly said, he is a very humble man. I was sitting next to him when everybody was praising him. Typically, methodically, he was slowly scoring off each of the speakers one after one, and he was maintaining a count of who is finished and who is yet to come. I did not see a reaction of pride or anything else when so many people were praising him. This is what distinguishes him from everybody else in this room. I'm sure I'm standing between you and your lunch. I only have one of my favorite quotations, which I will slightly twist and use for this purpose. When Edison was asked to speak about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he said something which I will slightly rephrase. Generations to come will scarce believe that such a man as Sri Ramarao was in our midst. With these remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, making it possible to be a part of this outstanding function. I am truly blessed, and believe me when I say it, I am really, truly blessed. Thank you so much.
మఫ్సల్ కోర్ట్ నుంచి హైకోర్టు జడ్జిగా అపాయింట్ కాబడిన ఉభయ తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల మొదటి వ్యక్తి ఆయన. సుబ్బారావు గారు రాజోలు వస్తున్నారు అని తెలిసి రామారావు ఏమండి సుబ్బారావు గారు వస్తున్నారట మనం వెళ్దామని చెప్పి వెళ్ళి ఆయన స్పీచ్ విని వచ్చారు. రామారావు సుబ్బారావు అంటే అంత గౌరవం ఉంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. నౌ ఐ కాల్ అపాన్ హానబుల్ శ్రీ జస్టిస్ ఏవి శేషాయి గారు. రామారావు మా శేషాయి గారు ఉన్నారు, మా భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారు ఉన్నారు అంటే అర్థమవుతుంది ఆయనకి శేషాయి గారు అంటే ఎంత అభిమానం. శేషాయి గారు నేను ఇక్కడ ఎవరికి ఏం చెప్పక్కలేదు, కానీ వాళ్ళ మామగారి గురించి ఒక్క విషయం చెప్తాను నేను. ఏమిటంటే అది మాకు చిన్న రామారావు మ్యాటర్స్ ఏమన్నా హైదరాబాద్ పంపించినప్పుడు రాజగోపాల్ గారి దగ్గరికి పట్టుకెళ్ళేవాళ్ళం. బ్రీఫ్ పట్టుకెళ్ళగానే ఆయన కూర్చోబెట్టి బ్రీఫ్ మొత్తం చదివి రికార్డ్ చదివి అడిగేవారు, టిఫిన్ టైంకి వెళ్తే టిఫిన్ తిన్నావా అని. లేదని అంటే పదాన్ని ఇంట్లో తీసుకెళ్ళి డైనింగ్ టేబుల్ మీద టిఫిన్ పెట్టి జోబులో 1000-2000 పెట్టి మాకు ఎందుకు సార్ అంటే లేదు బలిపడే తీసుకో అని చెప్పి వచ్చి మళ్ళీ తిరిగి వచ్చిన తర్వాత క్లయింట్కి డైరెక్షన్ ఇచ్చేవారు, ఆయనకి ఏమైనా ఇచ్చావా తీసుకొచ్చావా అని చెప్పేసి అంత గౌరవంగా చూసేవారని చేత రాజగోపాల్ గారిని మేము ఎప్పటికీ మర్చిపోం. ఇప్పుడు శాస్త్రి గారిని మాట్లాడాల్సిందిగా కోరుతుంది.
మిత్రులు, గోదావరి జిల్లా అల్లుడు గారు శ్రీ స్వామియాజులు గారు చెప్పినట్టండి, గౌరవనీయులు భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారు మాట్లాడిన తర్వాత ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే అత్తర సీసా పక్కన అగరత్తులు వెలిగించినట్టు ఉంటుందండి. సాధారణంగా 2 రకాల సభలు ఉంటాయి మనం చూస్తూ ఉంటాం. ఒకటి ఏంటంటే సభ ప్రారంభమైన తర్వాత నెమ్మదిగా మనుషులు వెళ్ళిపోయే సభ. రెండో సభ జరుగుతున్నంత సేపు కూడా జనం వచ్చే సభ. ఈ 2 రకాలు కూడా దేని మీద ఆధారపడి ఉంటాయంటే ఆ సభలో ఉన్న వ్యక్తి మీద, సత్కారం పొందే వ్యక్తి మీద ఆధారపడి ఉంటాయి. ఇక్కడ నాకు రెండోది కనిపిస్తుందండి. కిక్కిరిసిపోయి బయట కూడా నిలబడ్డారు. నన్ను నేను రామారావు గారితో పోల్చుకోకూడదు, పోల్చుకోలేను కూడా. కానీ మా ఇద్దరికి ఒక్క సారూప్యత మాత్రం ఉందండి. రంగు కాదండి, ఆయనది భీమవరమే, నాది భీమవరమే. సారూప్యత ఏంటంటే మా ఇద్దరినీ కూడా ఎంతో అభిమానంతో ప్రోత్సహించి ఈ స్థితికి నిలబెట్టిన నర్సాపూర్ బార్ అసోసియేషన్కు శిరస్సు వంచి నమస్కారం చేసుకుంటూ పెద్దలు, మా అందరి మార్గదర్శకులు శ్రీ భవానీ ప్రసాద్ గారు, ఈనాటి సభాధ్యక్షులు మిత్రులు శ్రీ కృష్ణ గారు, సహచర న్యాయమూర్తులు మన గోదావరి ముద్దుబిడ్డలు జయ విజయులు, జయసూరి గారు, విజయుడు అంటే సుబ్బారెడ్డి గారు, అలానే ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పినట్టు మన ముద్దుల అల్లుడు, మన దొడ్డిపట్ల అల్లుడండి ఆయన, సోమయాజులు గారు, సీనియర్ న్యాయవాదులు, న్యాయవాద మిత్రులు, సోదర సోదరీమణులందరికీ కూడా పేరు పేరున హృదయపూర్వక నమస్కారాలు. హిమాలయాలంతటి సమున్నత సంస్కారానికి, హిందూ మహాసముద్రం అంతటి మంచితనానికి, విలువలకు, నిబద్ధతకు ఎంత ఎత్తుకు ఎదిగినా సరే ఒదిగి ఉండే గుణానికి, వీటన్నిటికీ కూడా నిలువెత్తు నిదర్శనం జీవికే రామారావు గారు. ఒక న్యాయవాదికి సమాజం పట్ల ఎటువంటి బాధ్యత ఉండాలి, వాటిని ఎలా నిర్వర్తించాలి అనే విషయాలు తెలియాలంటే ఆయన చూస్తే సరిపోతుందండి. స్పీకర్స్ అందరూ కూడా చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అటువంటి వారు ఒక తెలుగువాడిగా పుట్టడం, న్యాయవాద వృత్తి చేపట్టడం, మనందరం కూడా ఆయన ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకున్న కాలంలో ఉండడం మనం చేసుకున్న అదృష్టంగా భావిస్తున్నాను నేను. ఆయన ఒక న్యాయ ఋషి, పుస్తక భాండాగారం, రిజర్వాయర్ ఆఫ్ నాలెడ్జ్. కృష్ణ గారు మొన్న మాటల సందర్భంగా అమరావతి వచ్చినప్పుడు ఒక విషయం చెప్పారండి. మనలో ఎంతమంది చేస్తున్నామో తెలియదు ఆ విషయం. ఇప్పటికీ కూడా మా గురువు గారు 10 జర్నల్స్ చదువుతారు అండి. నిజంగా గొప్పతనం కదండి. 1 జర్నలే చదవలేకపోతున్నాం మనం. 60 సంవత్సరాల పాటు న్యాయవాద వృత్తిలో ఉండటం ఆషామాషి వ్యవహారం కాదు. ముందు వక్తలు చెప్పినట్టు అది ఒక యజ్ఞం లాంటిదండి. అది ఒక న్యాయవాది జీవితం ఎప్పుడు ధన్యం అవుతుందంటే నా దృష్టిలో ఆ న్యాయవాది కోర్టులో వాదనలు వినిపిస్తున్నప్పుడు న్యాయమూర్తి రికార్డును కూడా చూడకుండా వింటున్నప్పుడు అండి అది. అటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఆయన. ఏది చెబితే అది గాస్పెల్, దట్స్ ఆల్, దట్ ఈస్ ఫైనల్. అలానే నేను ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు మా ఆఫీస్కి ఫైల్స్ వస్తూ ఉండేవండి, సివిల్ ఫైల్స్. కృష్ణ గారు కానీ, రామసత్య గారు, రమణ గారు వీళ్ళు తీసుకొస్తూ ఉండేవారు. సబార్డినేట్ ట్రయల్ కోర్టులో రామారావు గారు చేసిన కేసులు అవి. మాకు ఎంత ఈజీగా ఉండేదంటేనండి, ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ హైకోర్టులో ఫస్ట్ అప్పీల్ వేయాలనుకోండి, రిటన్ ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్స్ చదివితే సరిపోయేది, ఆయన ప్రిపేర్ చేసిన రిటన్ ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్స్. సెకండ్ అప్పీల్ వేయాలనుకోండి, ఫస్ట్ అప్పీల్ గ్రౌండ్స్ చదివితే సరిపోయేది. అది ఆయన గొప్పతనం. అలానే వారిని చూస్తుంటే అండి ఒక మహనీయుని మాటలు గుర్తొస్తూ ఉంటాయి, స్వామి వివేకానంద మాటలు. ఆయన ఏమంటారంటే, పట్టిందల్లా బంగారం అవుతున్న ప్రతి వ్యక్తిలోనూ ఎక్కడో అచంచలమైన నిజాయితీ, చిత్తశుద్ధి, విశ్వాసం ఉండాలి. అదే అతని అద్భుత విజయానికి కారణం అంటారు వివేకానందుడు. మనం ఒక సత్కార్యం చేయాలి అంటే ఎవరికి భయపడిన అవసరం లేదు కదండి. ఓ మంచి పని చేయాలంటే ఎవరికి భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. కానీ ఒక సత్కారం చేయించుకోవాలంటే భయపడాలి ఎప్పుడు కూడా. ఎందుకంటే సమాజం పట్ల మన బాధ్యతలు రెట్టింపు అవుతాయి. కానీ ఇటువంటి యోగ్యులకు మాత్రం అటువంటి సత్కారాలు చేస్తే వాళ్ళ వలన సమాజం, వాళ్ళు చేసే సేవలు రెట్టింపు అవుతాయి, సమాజం బాగుపడుతుంది. మన బాధ్యత కూడా అది. అసలు గోదావరి బిడ్డగా పుట్టడమే అదృష్టం అండి. ఒప్పుకుంటారా అల్లుడు గారు? అందులోనూ ఇటువంటి మహనీయుల కాలంలో ఉండడం, చివరిగా ఇటువంటి అద్భుత కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొనే అవకాశం పూర్వజన్మ సుకృతంగా భావిస్తూ ఇటువంటి మంచి కార్యక్రమంలో మమ్మల్ని అందరినీ కూడా భాగస్వాములు చేసిన నర్సాపూర్ బార్ అసోసియేషన్కు మరొక్కసారి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ సెలవు. నమస్కారం. జై హింద్.
శాస్త్రాయ్ గారు మ్యాటర్స్ తీసుకెళ్ళి ఆయనకి ఇచ్చినప్పుడు ఆయనతో డిస్కస్ చేస్తూ ఉండేవాళ్ళం. శాస్త్రాయ్ గారితో ఆయన దగ్గర ఉన్న క్వాలిటీ ఏంటంటే ఎప్పుడు కూడా ఒక వ్యక్తిని విమర్శించేవారు కాదు. నేను ఎప్పుడు కూడా ఇంకొక వ్యక్తిని విమర్శించడం ఆయన దగ్గర చూడలే. ఎప్పుడు మన పని ఏంటి, మ్యాటర్ ఏంటి తప్ప ఇంకొక అవతల వ్యక్తిని ఎప్పుడని విమర్శించేవారు. అది ఆయన దగ్గర ఉన్న గొప్ప క్వాలిటీ. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్ శాస్త్రాయ్ గారు. తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు జీవికే రామారావు గారి మన అతిథులుగా వచ్చిన జడ్జెస్ని గౌరవించవలసిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. ఆయన మెమెంటో షావులు ఇచ్చి గౌరవిస్తారని అడిగాను. Request our chief guest, Honorable Sri Justice A.V. Sashai Garu to unveil the portrait of Sri G.V.K. Ramarao presented by his juniors to the Bar Association. Sir. రామారావు గారికి బహుకరిస్తారు. రాజగోపాల్ గారిని స్టేజ్ మీద రావాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను.
President of the Bar Association Narsapur and also President of this morning's function, Mr. P.V. Krishnarao, Honorable Sri Justice A.V. Sheshasai Garu, Honorable Justice D.V.S.S. Swamiyadulu Garu, Honorable Sri Justice Nainala Jayasuriya Garu, and Honorable Sri Justice S. Subbareddy Garu, all judges of AP High Court, guest of honor, Honorable Sri Justice G. Bhavani Prasad, former Judge High Court of Combined AP, and Honorable Sri E. RAMARAO, District and Session Judge, West Godavari, Honorable members of Subordinate Judiciary and members of print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. Friends, my heart is full. In all my life, I have never received so much of praise for such a short time. I sat in a daze, wondering whether I deserved all this praise. I am very much grateful to the distinguished speakers in the who have shown through their prize. Friends, to be respected by one's peers is the ultimate respect. Coming to my professional career as advocate, I did my law in Madras Law College during 1953-55. At that time, one has to undergo apprentice in a senior's office. He has to attend lectures also, and also pass bar council exam. And so, unless these things have happened, he is not entitled to get enrollment. So I did all these things, and at the time when I did my apprentice, I joined the office of M. Seshachalpati Garu, who was then government pleader in a High Court situated at Guntur. Later, I was enrolled in 1956. By the time I was enrolled, the High Court was shifted to Hyderabad, and the then Chief Justice was Honorable Justice Koka Subbarao. In those days, the enrollments were done in the first court, in the Chief Justice's court, and the Chief Justice after enrollment used to call us in his chambers and used to give advice also, and used to inquire where would you practice and all these things. But I think that system is not in vogue now. It is enrollment is done before the Bar Council also. I started my practice in the golden era of Narsapur Bar. There were only 2 senior civil judges courts in the entire district. One was at Eluru and another was at Narsapur. And the territorial jurisdiction was also included present Bhimur and Ganapur mandals. The pecuniary jurisdiction was unlimited. The bar was enriched by the presence of legal luminaries, Sri Y. Narayanamurthy Pantuలు Garu and C.S. Prakash Rao Garu, the father of Honorable Justice Sri C.Y. Swamiyadulu Garu, former Judge, High Court of AP, Sri Mallikarjuna Rao Garu, Sri T.V.R. Apparao Garu, Sri Yamarthi Venkateswara Rao Garu, the father of Sri Y. Chandra Shekhar, Senior Advocate, High Court of AP, Sri Grandi Keshwaramurthy Garu, the father of our guest of honor, Justice Sri G. Bhavani Prasad, former Judge of the High Court of Combined AP, Sri Vayan, in whose office I worked as junior, never stepped into municipal court. I used to handle his work in the district municipal court. Thereby, I had ample opportunity to pick up work later without much period of gestation. Mr. CSP was a giant among lawyers. He had a rugged memory and he was known as walking encyclopedia. But we must remember that his phenomenal success at the bar was due to the hard work he put in, backed by constant study. To appear against him was itself an education. Friends, we are justly proud that our bar contributed 5 of its distinguished members to the bar, to the bench of the High Court of Combined AP. Honorable Sri Justice M. Ramachandra Garu and Honorable Sri Justice I. Pondurangarao Garu adorned the bench of the High Court during the latter period of 1970 and 1990s respectively. Ramachandra Garu was the junior of late D. Tirupati Garu, and Sri I. Pondurangarao was attached to the office of late C.S. Prakash Rao Garu before he joined the judicial service. Honorable Sri Justice Sri D.S.R. Verma, Honorable Sri Justice Sri Sivai Somedulu Garu, and Honorable Justice G. Bhavani Prasad were distinguished members of our bar, and it is the unique distinction of our bar that all these three served on the bench during the same period. It is appropriate to remember and pay respects to my master, Sri Vayan, on this occasion. His mastery over statute law was great and his memory was phenomenal. But he never relied on his memory. Sooner the facts of the case were revealed to him, he would immediately pick up the relevant statute and case law on the point and draft the pleadings shaped according to law. His pleadings were always brief. I thank Sri Y. Narayanamurthy Pantulu Garu, at whose feet I learnt the art of advocacy and who trained me as full-fledged advocate. I started my independent practice in the year 1961. I completed 65 years as advocate. Long back, both my sons-in-law retired from service, and my granddaughter, the son of my eldest daughter, daughter of my eldest daughter, was joking with his father, "Daddy, you retired even before Tata retired." Friends, I am one who think that the only real happiness in life is to be able to do work which one should enjoys, heartily likes. Without work, life ceases to have any significance. So I continued my service till I attained age of 90 and completed 65 years as advocate. The time has now come when I must sum up my life at the bar to state what it is meant for me and what are the lessons that I have learned after fairly long practice. Friends, law is a great discipline for the mind. It teaches how to think clearly, precisely, and accurately. Every word has its definite meaning and must find its proper place in its own context. In those days, we used to argue days together. Whenever the judge asked how much time we would take, we used to say, "I take 2 days time, sir." The opposite party also used to take similar time. Subordinate judges who worked previously Sri I.S. Gupta and Hiraman Singh took great pleasure in hearing arguments in extenso days together, and in their court clock stopped working. But we live today in the age of speed. Those spacious, slow-moving days are no more with us. We are now more businesslike, less ornate and flamboyant. The days of great oratory are gone now. We must cultivate the art of brief advocacy. And legal arguments nowadays need not also be long as they used to be years ago. Almost on every subject of any importance, there are innumerable decisions of recent date which laid the law authoritatively. So the task of advocate is to set and cite. With my long experience at the bar, I am competent to advise young lawyers who join the bar. Friends, no one can assure success at the bar to any young man who is entering advocate's position. Success must be ultimately depend upon the man himself. There is no other profession which demands such patience and perseverance, because life at the bar is never a bed of roses. It is either all bed and no roses, or all roses and no bed. The most difficult time in an advocate's life is when it is all bed and no roses. It is when he is passing through such a situation that he must maintain a stout heart. It is then that he must work in a spirit of single-mindedness. This is also the time to learn all that there is to be learnt about the art of advocacy. I am moreover convinced that success would certainly come to every young man who has faith in himself. He must enter the profession with the zeal of a crusader. For years there may be no work. He may even face with the prospect of starvation. But opportunity will certainly come to every lawyer, and when opportunity comes, no young man should be wanting. It is then that he must put his practice all that he has learnt in the long years of waiting. The Lord Chancellor of England, when approached by a lady and inquired whether they would advise her son to be a lawyer, he was reported to have said, "Yes, if your son is prepared to work like a horse and live like a hermit, he can be a lawyer." This is the golden rule we have to follow even now. When you do your first case, you may feel nervous, but don't get disheartened. I quote Gandhiji. Gandhiji, in his book, The Law and the Lawyer, narrated his experience with the first case. It was a very easy case. He charged about rupees 30, it seems, for his fees. It was a small cost suit. It does not last longer than a day. He appeared for the defendant. He has to cross-examine the plaintiff's witnesses, and chief examination was over, and he stood up to cross-examine the witnesses, but his heart sank into his boots. His head was reeling, and he felt as though the whole court was doing likewise. He could not think of any question to be put. The judge must have a laugh, and the advocates no doubt enjoyed the spectacle. And he sat down and told the court that he could not conduct the case, that the client may engage another advocate and also returned the fee. Mr. M.C. Setalvad, who was one of the most outstanding members of the bar and a great jurist of international repute and the first Attorney General of India, wrote in his autobiography, My Life and Other Things, that, I quote, that I was depressed at not being able to get any work and told my father more than once that I should leave the profession and get a job, and kept on telling the father that at the bar, kept on telling, father told him that at the bar one has to wait, but later, however, on seeing my impatience, my father was making efforts to find a suitable part-time or full-time job for me. Luckily, before these attempts could fructify, his fortune turned. Mr. Chagla, who retired as the Chief Justice of Bombay High Court and was also Judge of International Court of Justice and a member of Nehru Cabinet, also wrote in his book, in his autobiography, Roses in December, I was going through a stage of extreme hardship when it would be no exaggeration to say that starvation was around the corner. I was prepared to accept any job that was suitable, and I readily accepted an apprenticeship in the High Court, which would have started me on a handsome salary of rupees 300 or 350. But ultimately, fortune turned and his waiting also succeeded. Long time ago, one young lawyer on way to enrollment approached a great English lawyer and asked him the question, what are the requisites for success in the legal profession? The answer came promptly. All that is needed is the constitution of an ox and the patience of an ass. Friends, life is a challenge, meet it. Life is love, enjoy it. Life is a dream, realize it. And life is a game, play it. Failure is only a bend on the road and not the end of journey. Genuine success and unending industry are inseparable companions. In spite of hard work, one may fail, but without sincere effort, no one can attain success. To quote Swami Vivekananda, take up one idea, that is to succeed in the profession. Make that one idea your life. Think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea. Just have every other idea alone. This is the way to success. You have to give your best performance. Don't bother about the result. Don't ideas or the client, but argue the case to the best of your ability without bothering about the result. Unless an advocate develops a sort of indifference to the result of the case, he will become a nervous wreck very soon. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stated, Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale heturbhu ma te sangosya karmane. Perform your duty, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. I thank all of you in the audience who have honored me by attending this function. The Felicitation Committee of the Bar Association deserves thanks for honoring an elder. I regard this as the most important landmark in my career. May God bless you all. Thank you. In this connection, I want to state that I have got a very good library. I mean, gathered for a period of 65 years. I got about 10 racks of books, both law reports and also textbooks. I want to present these things to the Bar Association, and I request our administrative judge to identify the room and allow us to keep the library intact. Thank you very much.
The issue was already sounded out. I also requested the Honorable Principal District Judge to look into it. Once the papers come, we will do our level best to process it in the shortest possible time.
Thank you, sir, for your kind cooperation.